Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a crease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to the still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entering entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entering entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, or "Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is that I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore?" Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber, turning all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is someone at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many flirt and flutter, there stepped in a sadly raven on the staining of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a burst of palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, in the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Do thy crest be short and shaven now," I said, "art sure no crazy, ghastly grim, and the ancient raven wandering in the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl should hear discourse so plainly. Through its answer, little meaning, little relevancy bore. We cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon sculpted bust his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on this placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul, and the one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have he flown before? On this morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." And the bird said nevermore. Startled at this stillness broken by replay so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," I said, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom a merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till the songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore." of never, nevermore. But the raven still be going on my fancy into smiling. Straight I willed a cushioned seat for the bird and bust and door. Then upon this velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and omnivorous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom core. This and more I sat, divining, with my head at ease, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er? She shall pass, ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tuffled floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, but these angels he had sent thee, respite in nymph, from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore? Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all, undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore? Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, of bird or devil, but thy heaven has sent bends above us, but God we both adore, till the soul with sorrow laden within the distinct Eden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore? But that word, our sign of parting, bird or friend, I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into thy tempest in the night Plutonian shore, leave no black plume as token as that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take thy break from my heart, and thy heart from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore? And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bluffs of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have the seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamp o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out the shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.